just wanted to get dive right in here. And so when I talk about content and I say content or marketing content, what does that mean to you as a content creator?
Right. So think about the sort of stories, explanations, things of interest in your field. So in this area of wine, if I'm a winery, you want to talk about wine, you want to talk about your venue, how people perceive your venues. You can share information about an important guest that you have or the average guest. What are their experience like? If you host weddings, describe what that looks like. So it's talking about stuff about you, and it can be written, it can be video. Images go a long way, especially if you have a nice scenic property, and even audio if you're using like a podcast.
So that's interesting. So what I didn't hear in there is it's advertising, it's sales and promotions.
No, right. I mean, somewhere in your content, you're going to have reference to things and what am I selling and things like that. But you really want to downplay those because the last thing you want is for people to go, oh, another email from that guy. And
Right.
it's always, hey, we got a deal on wine. Hey, we got a special. Hey, you really want to avoid that because then you become someone that people don't want to hear from.
Yeah, and that's a really good point there, George, about that is it's, when we look at content, it's about, I think you were using, when we were prepping for this, you used the term edutainment. Can you say more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, so it combination of education with entertainment. I mean, if your education is just totally dry and slow, it's not particularly interesting. I mean, entertainment is just tough to do in general, but if you can talk about what it is that you do in a way that's fun, it's entertaining for people, where someone might think, gosh, let me share this with someone else because it's that good. That's kind of what you're trying to go for.
Right. And so with that being said, that's kind of, it's always part of mine is why is somebody engaging? I used to have a boss back when I first started my career some 25 years ago, and I'd put slides together, I'd put whatever together. And for those of you who watch these video podcasts, you're going to hear this a lot, is this idea of so what? So if you write an article, so what? What's your purpose, right? And so kind of leading into that then, George, what's the biggest mistake that when you're working with clients that you see them making, or when you're reviewing content from other people that you've subscribed to and so on? What's the biggest mistake that you're seeing out there right now?
Yeah, I'm going to point out two.
Okay.
So one of them is that they don't plan for it. So as a result, it's like the end of the month and it's like, oh, we've got to get one, we got to get our last article, or we've got to get an article out, and it's done in a crisis. And it seems like I don't want to do content because it's just such a hassle,
Right.
because it's not something that's kind of built into when you're due. So that's the first one. The other one is that you overthink it. You should be sharing things that are answers to questions that people are asking you all the time. Hey, what's it like to go to your place? Hey, what's that Riesling like? Oh, sorry that I got the dog.
That's okay. It's live.
Yeah. So what's your Riesling like? What is a typical visitor experience when they come to your place? They should be things that are easy. I had one client a long time ago that they were attorneys, and they were explaining something about DUI. How do you? And they were like getting into law and references to stuff, and it's like, dude, it should start with something like, I was driving down the street, I'd had one too many, and I see a blue light in my rearview mirror. What do I do? It should not be rocket science. And that's where I think some people overcomplicate things.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think, from that perspective, where do you get this information, right? So, as if you're in the office or you're not on the floor very much, one of the areas to get this information from is your team, right? Ask your team, what are people asking? What's the number one question that you're answering on a daily basis from visitors in the tasting room or people looking at your wines? So that could be a great source for planning ahead and doing that. And then the other part is, why not ask, right? Why not put up on social media or something? Hey, what do you want to know about us? What, you see a lot of people do these ideas of ask me anything. That can be, for a winery, that could be a big kind of scary thing.
No, but think of this, like you went about asking people on your team. think of the number of stories your winemaker has in his head that isn't
Right.
sharing with people. And someone is, why did you come up with that formula for that wine? I'm using the
Right.
word formula, but how did you come up with this? Like, man, we tried mixing it with last year's and it didn't work. And then we did this. And then we struck upon the right mix because we did this and we brought this other thing in. And it's kind of like demystify winemaking. And
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And so from that perspective, then I think that, so George, we were talking about, kind of some tips. So, one of the things that we want to fill all of these sessions with is meaningful actions, tips from the trenches. I think that's what we'll do. We're going to call it Tales from the Trenches. Okay. Or maybe Tales from the Vineyard. No, Tales from the Trenches, because we don't work in the
what do
vineyards.
you
We work
call the trenches between between the wines? Is there a name?
there is, and I don't remember, but if you know it,
Yeah, two non-winemakers here talking about
John,
this. Let's talk to John.
okay, we'll talk to John, and we'll talk to some of our winemaker clients, and we'll find out. But if you know, enter in the chat in the comments below. That'd be great. But so George, extending from there, I'm going to preface this now. It's going to be Tales from the Trenches, right? So, what tip do you have for somebody that's going to be sitting down and doing content and working on content? What would your number one tip right now?
Get really comfortable with video, for example.
Okay.
I mean, just think of all you use this phone for all the time. I've got my I don't know if you can see this. It doesn't show really well, but my granddaughter, stories about stuff that you do. Go out there and explain. If you're out there, go out to your vineyard and just kind of do like a selfie video. Hey, just out here in the field. Get comfortable doing that. And maybe you do the first ones in your personal Facebook. Maybe, you interview the winemaker and just start recording it and get an idea of what it feels like. Some people, by the way, will be very good naturally on video. Other people might be a little stiff and it's like, well, maybe we won't use that much. But explore, especially with the people and the locations that you have, and what sort of video could you come up with? Because a great piece of content might be a piece of video along with, the text for it,
Right.
a transcript for it.
And there's tools, and we'll put some links in the comments below about some tools so that you can take a video and actually fully transcribe it. It's amazing what's possible now with that. So I think that's really great because I'm just I'm thinking about some of the wineries I consult with. And so what I've done with them is I've said, okay, just go take your phone and just go right where they are. If they're in production right now, go meet with them. The noise is okay, all that stuff. Like just get it live, raw where it's at. If they're mixing, if they're in the lab, if they're out in the fields and they're looking, just that's some great opportunities for some content.
And let me share with you, some people are very self-conscious about themselves on video.
Yeah.
Here's a story from someone that I knew, and we were connected on Facebook, and I was seeing that every day they'd be recording a video, and they seemed to be completely unrelated. And me, the marketing guy, I'm trying to reverse engineer what are they doing, and is it a campaign in the works, and it'll come together later. So I called her because I knew her pretty well. I go, hey, what are you doing? And she goes, my coach said I had to get over my mental block against videoing myself. So you said, pick whatever you want to do and record a video live 1 to 2 minutes every day for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. There's another bomb drop. That's great.
And let me tell you, I thought the videos were very entertaining. One time she was in the Jeep. She lives in Phoenix, so she was taking pictures of the cactus and all that. And they were really cool. And I'm going, get over your mental block because you're good.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are much better on video than they think they are. And then they just hesitate to do it just because, it's some sort of mental thing.
I think that kind of leads kind of really into what we're trying to do here. So, for those of you who haven't met us before, George and Mark, we from what we're trying to do here, DTC Wine Marketing Heroes is who we are, and this segment is under content creation. So George is our content hero. He's got many other areas of expertise, but specifically for this, George is doing the content side of it. And and when we look at the content and we look at how important that is in what we do, it touches every part of our marketing activities. So as we go through our podcasts, as we go through our training and everything that we do, part of that is to show you how you take one little piece of content, you move that around, and you use that. So, George, when we say content, we're not talking typing, we're not talking scripts, we're talking all of it. So when we say content, what's the overall goal of content in 2023 from a social media, email marketing, website, all of that? What's our overall goal and objective with content?
Our goal is to grab attention, to further our brand, get people to get a mental picture of who we are.
Right.
That's really on a larger scale what it is. Are they relaxed and fun? Are they formal? Are they snobby? What is it about them? Who are the people behind the organization? Can I relate to them? And something that a lot of people may not know is, if we went back to the caveman days, you never met anybody who wasn't part of your community. So people that were around you, people who were familiar to you, were safe, right? And if all of a sudden you got a stranger, it's the stranger danger, because it meant someone from the other side of the valley or the other hill. I got to watch out for those people. I'm not sure I like them. I don't know them. So the purpose to getting your face on video is so that you become known, familiar, and subconsciously people will begin to trust and like you. Now, they may not like you, but they'll at least become familiar with you. And by the way, not everybody's going to like you, and that's just the way it are. You'll attract people who are attracted to people like you, and you'll push them away. And then those are the people that become your tribe.
And I think that's really important when we look at experience, right? So wine is, and George, I know you can talk about this part of it all day long. And before we do, if you're finding this type of content and this dialogue back and forth, because this is really where the coaching and this is where the power of this lives in, is just these shared experiences and how to take what we're doing and amplify it and take these tips and suggestions. And then in the comments below, where everyone else is chatting and commenting and sharing ideas, it's about building a community of people that we know, like, and trust. Then I invite you to like what we're doing. Invite you to subscribe to, if you're following us on Facebook, then join the public groups, follow us on Facebook, or if you're on YouTube, then like and subscribe and tick the notification button so that you can get more of this. This content section is a monthly content. Yeah. There we go. The power of live
every month.
Yeah, it'll happen every month. Thank you. And down the link below, there's a calendar of events and when we're doing all the pieces. So with that said, George, let's look at if somebody said, okay, what's my number one thing I need to do in content for 23 besides video? What's tip number 2?
Tip number 2 is put together a schedule. We're going to do, you really ought to be thinking about doing 4 pieces of content a month. Just think one a week, and have one be related to your venue. Have one be related to, one of your wines. Another one could be about an individual, maybe the winemaker, maybe, the people who run your venue. And then the 4th one maybe cover sailing, something that you're selling, that you want to, push attention. Maybe you have an event coming up, so that, people know that maybe 25% of your time you're selling something. But we'll talk about that in more detail and how you can be subtle so that it doesn't feel like you're selling something. You're giving them information and hopefully encouraging them to do something that they might find fun.
Right. And I think that's a great tip, is really kind of have a plan in place. And so with that being said, we're going to, for the members, hold on. We're just going to say goodbye to the public forum here. So for everyone that's on the public side of things, really appreciate that. Share this with your colleagues and anyone else that's in the wine marketing space. And if you have any questions, drop them in below. We'll add those to the questions that we'll answer both in the content section, but also in the live Heroes Roundtable that we do on the first Tuesday of the month, which was a great session. The kickoff was fantastic. So just hold on, folks, and let me say goodbye.